Welcome to this episode of Threading Thoughts as we discuss emotional intelligence and its impact. Emotional intelligence, otherwise known as emotional quotient or EQ, is the ability to understand, use, and manage our own emotions in more positive ways. This can be used to either relieve stress, overcome challenges, or even diffuse a conflict. But why is it really important? Emotional intelligence is the ability to identify and regulate one's emotions and understand the emotions of others as well. A high EQ or emotional quotient helps you to build relationships, reduce team stress, and as well as improve your own job satisfaction. Self awareness, self management, motivation, relationship management, and empathy are considered the five pillars of emotional intelligence. However, the ability to recognize what hurts us and others as well, and as well as developing the skill of listening and empathizing, are still challenges, both for big corporates as well as entrepreneurs. Ms. Annapurna, a HR thought leader, possesses more than 25 years of rich experience in HR operations, change management, leadership, learning and development, and organization development. She's been an effective communicator, keen planner, a vivid learner, an ardent debater, and a strategist and an implementer with demonstrated abilities and interpersonal skills in devising various HR activities for accelerating business growth in organizations. Her keen interest in understanding human behavior has led her to gain behavior management certifications. She has attained certifications in counseling, behavior event interview, assessment and development center, psychological tests, etc. She practices competency assessments through frameworks and assessment centers. She is also an emotional intelligence practitioner and has delivered emotional awareness programs, workshops to many personnel across the world. Organizational development, change management, and leadership development are key areas of success factors as heading the human resource function. Besides her astounding corporate stint, she has been active in academia through frequent guest lecture sessions. She is a recipient of many recognitions, and to mention a few, she has received the Women Super Achiever Award in 2009, followed by Women Leadership Awards at World HRD Congress 2014, Outstanding Women Workforce Award from National Foundation for Entrepreneurship Development 2016, and many, many more. Welcome to this episode of Threading Thoughts. I'm incredibly excited to be talking to Annapurna, and I think we are looking at a sphere that a lot of us don't understand or know about, and that's exactly what we're trying to find from her. Human resources are one of the most important assets to any firm, and be it any sector. So it's a completely sector agnostic, incredibly important tool, and we need people to understand people, and sometimes we don't, and we require their help to tell us to take a minute to not only think about others but also to think about ourselves. And that's the only way we not only improve how we function, but also how a firm functions. So I cannot say how incredibly excited I am. Thank you so much, Annapurna, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful. Believe me, the pleasure is ours. And let me just start off with something that's sort of, I think, like laying the ground rules, right? So IQ has always been paramount in the way we look at people for hiring, especially sometimes a sifter. But EQ, and why do you think we really need this?
Thank you for bringing that up very much, because this has been always top of my mind also. And as a recruiter for last so many 2 decades plus, I think you have well put it by telling that we all have hired people based on IQ. And I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, the whole of the education system has also told us that IQ is so very important, and we have never been taught or told about the social and emotional learning or EQ or EI per se, anything. And we all discovered this in our part of the journeys. And majorly when for me it was a wake-up call when we saw that all said and done, we hire people on based on IQ, we get them along, and we see them, they're performing, but suddenly something happens. Certain, say for example, some challenging times, or some crisis times, or some conflicting times, or some relationships times, and things like that and all. We see that most of the times this is not just IQ. There is something else more than IQ which is required. So it's just not that fluid intelligence or crystallized intelligence or something like that which we are talking about. It's more and beyond that. Enough research has been done in this area. And that's where we say that it's just not IQ. We require something called emotional intelligence or EQ there to handle different things. And that's where my humble this one is that it's just not we have to concentrate just on the IQ part of it. We need to also assess people on the EQ part of it, and we also need to have this as a blended part of building personalities, or making up a human or a completedness and things like that. So I would say that just don't go just behind just IQ and IQ. uh, Teach people EQ from very younger level itself. Let them not discover it, let it be a part of the growing up stage itself. So that what would happen is, it would be interesting to see that the human being is coming to its fullest potential. So that's very important, that both IQ and EQ play a great role in building up a personality of an individual.
Very, very interesting. I mean, it's all, don't look at the mind alone, but look at the mind and the heart. And
Yes.
these times have been very difficult for a lot of us. So, increased pressures, and then, pandemic has made it incredibly difficult. Just forget the normal work pressures or life pressures that we face. Pandemic has sort of increased it one notch at least. So, how do you think we can reach out to help? It's
Yeah.
how do we reach out and say that, okay, I need help, or perhaps somebody can help me in a particular way?
Right, right. I think, well put. I think this pandemic has not been, or this type of crisis has not been seen by anyone in our lifetimes. First of all, let us acknowledge that. We have seen many conflicting times or crisis times or different times and things like that, and all, but not a pandemic like this. And this has actually shook our lives in such a way that wherein, nothing called that this equation will work for us, this formula will work for us, or this mantra will work for us and all. No, no mantras or no sutras we had in our hands to really take care of the situations what we are going through or what we have gone through. Either it could be wave one, wave two, or the coming years ahead in front of us. Now, for that, I would say that yes, everyone needs help. Everyone requires some kind of help. We don't know, some may be battling for financial help, some may be needing for healthcare, some may be needing something else. Over and above, I think the best part what we can display at this point of time is how do we be a little bit more empathetic. So much important. So if that word is too complex for us to embrace it, I would say, how can you be good listener? Just listen. Just listen, and voluntarily make that effort of listening. When someone is coming and trying to tell you something, just pay attention, because people may not look for solutions. People may not look for, giving some kind of offering complete help at that point of time. The best help at this point of time is to do for anyone is just listen. Listen to what they're trying to say. Pay attention. Just there's a great difference between listening and hearing. So if you're listening, and if you're empathetically listening without placing any kind of judgment over there, without showing any kind of bias over there, I think half of the job is done there. So practice listening, showcase listening, and voluntarily take out time for listening. I would say that, in a week, we all have time. We have little that point. It could be within family. I'm not necessarily telling go ahead and somewhere. Children are at home, so they need attention. So they may be craving for this. Sometimes they use this word called listening a lot than we. As elders, we stop even using the word called listening. But they will tell, listen. They'll use this word very carefully, and they'll tell, listen to me, mama, listen to me, dada. They will tell these words. Okay, there are elders who are at home. Can we listen to them? There are spouses who are sharing, workplaces and help, the homes. So there's a lot to do. So if we are able to put in an effort to listen to each other, I think many of the conflicts can go away. Many of us can sail through this situations what we are going through in a very, very better way. I'm not telling that we will be achieving everything, but at least we'll be at least in a better way at this point of time.
It's so true. But I completely understand what you're saying. In the sense, it resonates a lot with me. Listening to people is so different from just hearing them speak. And you're so right.
Yes.
Nothing like children to sort of tell you, I need to say something and I'm better. Honestly, I think COVID has made me better because I'm at home more.
Yes.
It's available, and people, when they talk, I'm willing to listen. You're talking about an individual perspective also and a family. But in organizations, how do you do that? Are there too many people?
No, you need to put that extra effort, Mridula, now. You need to really put that extra effort to listen to your employees. I would say that as HR leaders or as leaders in our organizations, do something called listening hours. Welcome the people, welcome the people, tell them, ask them to speak, ask them to share, and tell them they're very psychologically safe hours. They're not something that I will be judging on you. I will not put you into something. If you're not able to do it on your own self, seek help. Seek help of some experts who are behavioral experts, who are counselors, who are mentors, who are coaches, or whatever it is and all. Seek that outside in expert wherein people can share. People can talk about it, what is going on with them and things like that and all. And it's very important that as leaders, we need to listen to our employees because they're going through enough. We are also going through enough. So it's very good practice at this point of time that we pay a little more attention or we pay more effort to listen. So that could also be done in the organizations too, not only in homes, but if it could be done in organizations also.
Oh, that's very valuable. And especially since a lot of them are coming back to office after having home. Especially, I mean, I won't say just women, but it is also a different equation for women working at home. There is no more personal and professional boundaries. So for those, it's a huge shift as well. Daycares have to work, schools have to work, otherwise have to leave the children at home, or elderly at work, the maids have to come in. So that hearing and listening and just being empathetic, I think, as you said, is very important. But not everything goes as we plan. And that's
absolutely how
always,
I wish.
I know. And I wish it every day, it never happens. But what can we do if things don't go as planned? Not only as individuals, but even as leaders or even colleagues. So there are two scenarios that you deal with, right? Within yourself as well as outside. So if it doesn't go as you plan, which always, almost often doesn't, what can we do?
Yeah. So first is we all like to be having a good plan and we like to be having that implemented and we like to see that it all happens as per our plan. What I would say is, after all this also, when things are not going as per your plans, and many times it has happened and many of us are witnessing all of this and all, first thing first is be okay with it. Just be okay. Just be okay, because if you're not going to be okay with it, if you're not going to accept it, it will become more difficult. So just start acceptance. If you have accepted that, yes, this plan has not gone as per what it should be, and now I'm in this different situation. So if the more and more I push it off, many of them during this last 20 months have not accepted that I lost a job, have not accepted that I lost my parents, have not accepted I lost my colleagues, have not accepted that things have become different, have not accepted that there is a global pandemic which has been hit.
Very true.
So many things we have not done. So the more time we take to accept a different alteration of a situation, the more painful it becomes for us to cope it up with that. So it's good that we become alert and we start with us, accept the situation, understand that there has been some change to the situation. So now how do I go about? How do I navigate myself from here? So what is there with me? Probably everything is not there with me right now. So what next I could do? If you are able to do that quickly, then you are settling down very quickly with yourself. Once you're settling down with yourself, then your thoughts are clearer. Okay, thoughts become they're not, your thoughts are much more clearer to do actions. So your actions become that much powerful for you to take up next steps over it. And then positivity builds in you. The taking that, okay, fine, this has gone wrong, or this is not here now for me. Let me see something alternative. And going forward in that journey, I think after a period of time, you become comfortable and settled. But if you've taken in the stage one itself a long time, if you've started not to accept it and things like that, things become difficult. The moment it will be difficult, then your journey will become very, very rough. And I'm not telling that every situation is so very easy. It's not. When grief is going on, allow the grief to happen, because it's a natural process. It will take some time when you have lost a closed one. And all situations have different amount of time. If I lost my job, yeah, I know it's a painful thing. I lost something. I don't know what to do next. How do I gain my money and things like that and all. If I lost a relationship with someone, it will be there. But if I lost a dear one completely, I mean, that person is no more and he has been so important, it takes more time. Definitely. Allow that to happen for you. Do not give the signal to yourself by telling that this event has not happened.
Right.
The moment you will tell that this event has not happened, it becomes more difficult. Resistance to that, it becomes very difficult. So slowly give the time, allow the time to pass, and embrace it little by little, and then cope it up and then come out. Because we have that coping mechanism within ourselves inbuilt. God has given, nature has built for us and things like that and all. We are self-reliant. We have that resilience building capability within ourselves. But if you shut the door for that, then it becomes more difficult. So build resilience, build that grit in yourself, bring back all of that and things like that. When things are more vulnerable, when things are going very tough, I think we have to come out. We have to press that button in our body by telling that, where is that resilience, tapping button for us? Let us press that, bring it back for us. If you're not able to do it, surround yourself with people who can support you at that point of time. Right. Build a good networking with a net worth of individuals around you who can be reached out at a proper time when you wanted to seek some help for yourself. That can help us.
Very nice. So acceptance, resilience, and also a sort of helpful network.
Yes.
Get you out of it. But there is a few of us might perhaps wrongly equate things not going as planned with failure. And how do you disconnect the two, or how do you understand that things not going as planned is not a personal failure?
So that I would put it as self-bashing. When you say failures are always the stepping stones to success. So take it like that. If you failed, it's only that you have experimented. You've experimented, this experiment didn't go well. There is next experiment which you have to get ready with your right kind of equipments, right kind of laboratory tests, and prove yourself. That's it. But it's not something failure is the end of everything. No, it's not at all like that. So once you tell that it is the end of everything, then you're self-bashing yourself. Then your self-regard goes down. Your self-respect, self-love, everything goes off down. And when all of this is at stake, I think you will not be able to do well. You'll not be able to bounce back. So bouncing back is very important from every failure. And if you have seen anyone's story, they bounce back. And they bounce back with more strength. That's what nature teaches us. Nature tells that if anything has happened, it's always a bounce back with more 10x of it or 20x of it and things like that. So get prepared during those stages. And don't think that what others might say. The moment you'll think that what others might say or what others might, point at, my child is not doing well. I'm stressed about it. Or I have no great jobs. Or I have not had this kind of status of living. I went out. If you start feeling that what others might say will impact you, then it will become very difficult. It's always that, okay, this is fine. This is the moment I have not succeeded in the way I have to succeed for myself. That's the only statement you give it to you give the information to your brain, and next time figure it out. What went right, what didn't go right. and how do I make it right? Take some time to again come back, put the experiment again in place, and then just go ahead and to do it. And never ever, one failure doesn't determine what are you. Okay, so don't think that once you failed means, no, not at all. It's just that one failure has taught you many, many, many lessons. So I think take the lessons, record the lessons, and let's keep it in mind, and then probably take it further from there. And only thing is, once done is a mistake. Twice done will become more costly, and anything repeated more than that becomes a crime for you. So just remember that, and then do not enter to do that again and again. I know that's one thing which you have to take it as a lesson. That's it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And emotional intelligence, right? EI is gaining a lot more importance now, or perhaps it's gaining more prominence now. Not that it was not important earlier, but perhaps it was completely not taken into consideration. So, how do you link EI to productivity and habits? Is it really linked?
Absolutely, absolutely. And yes, EI has not been at the forefront while we are talking about it, or while we are articulating it, everything and all, but all the time it was present. All the time it was present. It was just not that it was not defined that, yes, that EI was also present along with other competencies or whatever skills or whatever it is and things like that and all. But definitely EI is there in all the aspects of our life. You can talk it about performance, productivity, managing change, cultural diversities, inclusions, leadership, or career building, professional success, anything you call it. Anything you call it. I think Mridula, I have to say this because from last 24 months, I have put a serious research on EI, and I started seeing that has EI a place in everything what we do. And I would say with a lot of confidence that EI is applicable in every walk of our life.
Wow.
In every walk of life. Yes. Whatever it is. And, from the infant stage itself, before even we start learning any kind of IQ related things, we are first connected with the world with EI. The touch, the feel, the kinetics, everything comes over there. So first we're coming to the world itself with EI. Then slowly we understand what is IQ, how to build IQ, how to go to formal education, get more knowledge, more skills, sharpen ourselves and things like that and all. And the beauty part of it, no two people can be on same EQ quotient, but more than two or more than one can be same on their IQ quotient. So such unique thing it is. And so very important it is that each human being is so very different. The composure is so very different. The experiences one goes through their life is so very different. And that makes up the fabric of their emotional intelligence. And how do they dispose the same emotion? And how do they regulate the same emotion in different ways, in different situations is so very unique. And the instances are so very, that's why it becomes more complex, more interesting, and more research oriented. Why people behave in the way they behave? If you ask this question, you will be surprised to see that what goes beyond them. Why is this kid different than the other kid? What happened? So many instances, so many stories are there for us. The same thing when we go to corporates, leaders, why this leader is different from that leader, why is this leader showcasing this leadership style, anything, whatever it is so very important. And coming back to your question again back, EI has a great role to play in the productivity of an individual. Definitely, yes.
And almost like, different, how almost some leaders actually lead and the others, are not that great leaders. That also comes with the way they interact or build a relationship or how they view others. And all of it is tied to EI, right? It all comes back to
absolutely. Yes. How self-aware they are, how do they build their relationships, how do they regulate their emotions, how do they showcase their empathy, all of it is different. And that's where it makes them unique leaders, while they're doing things and all.
Very interesting. Absolutely. You never see that or rather you see the part, you really think that, that might take a second seat. But I think more and more it affects the individual per se. And no matter what their IQ, the EQ seems to play a larger role on how their IQ is displayed. So
Yes, yes.
that makes a huge difference. But if I asked you, what were, like, say, 5 simple things you can suggest that we can start to do on a journey to, sort of get a better EI or enhance our own EI? What are 5 simple things that you think we can do as a practical thing?
Absolutely. And this is where I have done. I'm not even recommending something which is there in textbooks, or which is there something which I've seen, learned, or got trained and all, which I practiced myself, because I too did a lot of belief only on IQs, and I also placed a lot of importance to people who were displaying high EQs in the organizations and things like that and all. But fundamentally, my heart was not there, and thinking that he's so great, she's so great, but she doesn't know how to manage a conflict, or how to manage a crisis, or how to hold people, how to show empathy to people. These were questions always in my mind, because I come from behavioral sciences. But when I did pull out time for myself to understand myself and do some things and all, one is one practice what each one of us can do is connect with your emotions. You will know what is the emotion you're going through, and the best way to do it is keep a journal of emotions. That means every day at least you can start off the beginning of the day, what is the kind of emotion you got up with, what is happening and all, and what triggered that emotion, or what
Right.
thought was coming through and things like that, and who was with you at that point of time, what has happened to your body arousals at that point of time. Make a note of it, everything and all, and carry on to the whole of the day, and repetitively see it for at least some couple of weeks, and then figure it out, what is the strong emotion which is going on through you, and what are those triggers which is happening, how does it impact you, and things like that. This journaling helps you to a lot. Okay, that's one thing which you could do. Second thing is check your moods. That moodometer. Check your moods, what's happening to your mood, because this emotion is happening, anything which is happening to your moods also. Time and again, check your moods and things like that and all. Third is, what is your coping toolbox with you? You need to create your own coping toolbox. Sometimes you will tell that, okay, I'm too getting out with this emotion, it's very hard on me, and I'm not able to tackle this. What's a coping toolbox? Would you like to read? Would you like to write? Would you like to go on a walk? Would you like to dance? Would you like to sing? Or would you like to talk to someone? Or you just shut your doors and you want to be yourself? Whatever it is suitable to you, keep your coping toolbox with you. That's the third thing. Fourth thing, I would say that is, while the emotions are taking place, emotions don't come as a single emotion. It comes as a bundle. A fear, anger, and something like the multiple of this humiliation or distress or something. A packet of emotions will come through. Okay, so delayer the emotions. Don't always think that I'm always in the anger. No, it could not be anger. It could be something else. So please focus on that. Please focus on that and delayer, remove peel those things. And probably it was just an irritation. You had got irritated on something. You just really were not angry on that. The moment you understand that it was just an irritation and not an anger, you need the way to adjust it. You know it. And always the fifth thing I would say that, how do you regulate it? Now that you have known it, how do you want to regulate it? And be conscious of your emotions, what is happening. So time and again, when you're checking it, you're doing all of this and things like that, and writing your emotional journals, or in a way of stories or anything, whatever it is, but connect with them. People go and tell that, I don't feel any emotion. I'm keeping away all my emotions. That's the most biggest blunder we do. And that's something which you're bottling it up. You don't want to open it up. You don't want to showcase it and things like that. See, a bottled up anger can diffuse it in some other way. It can become a time bomb or an atom bomb and diffuse some other way. Or a bottled up grief can come out in some other way. A bottled up, and the best part is, when you're not diffusing it, when you're not throwing it out, it will get affected to your physical body also. That means physiological organs. You could see that a lot of people come with headaches. A lot of people come with spondylitis. A lot of people will have heart attacks or heart problems or diabetes or thyroid. There is enough research which is available with us that connecting an emotion and a locked up emotion in the body, how can it throw up into a physiological disorders. So please pay attention. It's quite important for us to take care of our physical well-being and mental well-being and emotional well-being. It's very important. And we need to make time for all of this. We need to really see that, concentrate on this, work towards this, and see that what can make us little bit more happier or peaceful. And
Right.
for all of this, I think we should put a lot of good effort to build these all things. Connect with your emotions, I would say.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Because sometimes we need somebody to tell us to stop and tell us, okay, this is what I need you to think about. This is what you need to do to reassess where you are. So we forget that because, sometimes in the rush for life, we clearly don't understand what is important. And as you said, the mental, any issues always represent themselves as physical signs. So it affects your body, and you don't realize that, headaches could be this, or arm aches could be something else, or how you've been abusing your body, not only physically, but mentally, and you don't realize. So it's so wonderful to see somebody say, stop and smell the roses once in a while. I think that's a very important note that I think we should take with us. And I'm sure there is so much more we can learn. There is so much more we need to understand. And I hope that this is like a first step for people to realize that it's not just the numbers or, the tech or the marketing behind every person, but there is the person themselves. There is this emotional person behind them, and they have to work with them. Not only for entrepreneurs, but I also think organizations are giving more importance to this right now. And it's something that perhaps we should have done quite a while ago, but better late than never.
True.
But thank you so much, Anpurna. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. And so much of just, information and experience. More importantly, it's always the information which comes, sitting on experience, because then you've seen it, been there, done that. And it helps us because, you really know these are things that are issues or these were. And to so freely share it with us, I think that's really an amazing trait. And that always shows people are willing to help. So I can't thank you enough for coming on Threading Thoughts today.
Thank you. And wonderful. The topic itself, or the tagline Threading Thoughts itself, makes me very nice to feel about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful